Good morning, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Morning. Yes. Am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. I have completed the MCH in the last class. Today I am going to start with the new one, that is the demography and family planning. Commonly asked in Viva, all the questions they are very important. So here, if you see the demography means scientific study of human population. Okay, the scientific study of human population in the world is the demography. If you see the demography, so what is the scientific study we are seeing means that is the changes of population in the world, that is a growth and a declining, and a composition of population and distribution of population. Okay, the demography means a scientific study of human population. So we had to study the human population in the form of changes, that is a growth and a declining, how much growth is there and how much are declining, and the composition of the population. Composition means the male and female composition and the child population and the distribution of the population. That is regarding the demography. If you see the demographic process, here the demographic process, we can have the cycle, that is the fertility, mortality, marriage, migration, and social mobility. These are the important topics regarding the demographic process. Here, if you see the demographic cycle, there are five cycles. First stage is called high stationary. First stage is high stationary. High stationary means the birth rate is high and the death rate is high. So both of them are cancel each other and the population remains stationary. High stationary means birth rate. So the birth rate is declining and the death rate is declining, and the both are high. Birth rate is high and the death rate is high, and both are cancel each other and the population is stationary. Whereas the early expanding means the death rate is declining and birth rate is unchanged. It is not changing. That is not, no, it is not declining. Okay. Early expanding means death rate is declining and birth rate is unchanged. India was in that stage in 1920. So the death rate is declining, but birth rate is not changed. Whereas late expanding means still death rate is declining and the birth rate is tends to fall. Just it appears to be fall. The death rate is declining, but birth rate is tends to fall. So India entered in this phase where that is the total fertility rate is the growth rate is increasing. Okay, the late expanding means death rate is declining, but birth rate is tends to fall. That is called late expanding. And the fourth one is low stationary. Low stationary means death rate is decline and birth rate is decline and population is zero population. You can see in the UK, Hungarian, etc. In the industrial countries. Where the death rate is declining and birth rate is also declining and the population is zero population. Whereas the last one is declining, the fifth stage is declining. Declining means death rate, the birth rate is still less than declining death rate. So birth rate is still declining than the death rate. You can see in the Germany this type of population. So these are the five stages: high stationary, late expanding, early expanding, late expanding, low stationary, and declining. High stationary means death rate is declining and the birth rate is declining and the population is stationary. Early expanding means death rate is declining, but birth rate is tends to fall. That is and then the population is in the stationary. And a late expanding means the death rate is still declining and birth rate is appears to be fall. So the India was in that stage where the population is growing and low stationary, both the death rate and the birth rate is declining. Whereas the fifth stage is declining means the birth rate is still declining than the death rate, where you can see in the German, Hungary, etc. This is the demographic cycle you can see in the world population. See, so here if you see the stages where the first stage here you can observe where the first stage it is that is highest that is the high stationary, late expanding, low stationary, and decline. These are the where you can see the natural increase of the population, etc. And the death rate here it is the death rate is declining, and the birth rate is appears to be fall, etc. We can see all these terms. Whereas in the fourth stage, where the both the death and birth rates are still lower. Okay, here if you see the world population growth rate in the throughout the history. Here, the growth rate in 1800, if you see the growth rate in 1800, how much it is, that is the depth of the, in that stage in 1800 year, the more number of deaths were there, but was mainly due to plague deaths, that is the black deaths, etc. And later, the population is going on doubling or tripling the population. Okay, that is the regarding the world population. So here I will tell you how it was. If you see the history of the population, the number of years that are added each billion by 1800 to 1930, that is by 130, there will be the it will take double the population by 130 years. Okay, the population from 1800 to 1930, that is it will become double by 130 years, and it becomes double by 30 years, that is in 1960. From 1930 to the population becomes double by 1960 within 30 years. First, it was doubled by 130 years, and second, it was doubled by 30 years. And then the population was doubled by 15 years, that is in 1975. From 1960 to 1975, the population was doubled. And by 12 years, again the population was doubled, that is from 1975 to 1987. And by 12 years, again it was doubled by 1999. And again by 2013, that is by 14 years, again the population was doubled. And by 2014, then that is the 2027, it was become the 14 billion population. Okay, and 14, and then 2048 it was 21 years, it become doubled. That is here the if you see the first billion, that is 1800 is the first billion, and by 130 years it is second billion. By 130 years gap, it has become double, first billion to second billion. That is from 1800 year to 19th 1930, that is 1930, that is between for 130 years gap it has become doubled, that is second billion. And in third billion, that is 30 years, it has become third billion. By 15 years, it has become fourth billion, and by 12 years, it has become fifth billion. That is in 1987, and by sixth billion, for 12 years, that is in 1999, it has become sixth billion, and 2013 by 14 years, it has become seventh billion, and by 8th billion, that is the projected population is 8th billion by 2000, that is 2027. By 14 years gap, it will become 2027 year, it has become 8th billion. And ninth billion is, it will become in 2048, the expected population is 21 years gap. You can see the ninth billion population worldwide. And if you see the annual increasing in the world population, as you see the annual increasing, that is the in 90 from 1951 to 2005, as it is going on increasing by the, as it was given in the United States nations, where the population is going on increasing. Here, if you see the global population growth in developing country phenomena, where in 1950, that is from 1950 to 2050, that is in developed countries and in developing countries. In developing countries, the population is going on increasing, whereas in developed countries, it is stationary, not of that much increased in population. If you see the in Europe, the world region, it is projected to decline the population by 2050. In North America, where you can see the 457 and 326. That is 457 was in 2050, and in 2005 it was 326. Whereas in Latin America, it is 778 by 2050, and by 2005 it was 549 billions, the millions. And in Europe, it was 668 in 2050, the projected population, and it was 728 by 2005. And if you see the mainly the Asia, that is Southeast Asian countries, where the projected population by 2050 is 5,385 millions, where in 2005 it was 3,875 million. So you can see, we can observe the rapidity of the growth of population. That is, it has become double by 130 years, and it has become 30 years double, and then later it has become 15 years. By 12 years, it has become that means it took 130 years to double the population in 19,000. And then now it has become rapidly growing the population. It is just like a train that is starting from at the starting time, the train was a slow motion, and then later it will be pick up very fastly. It is, the population is also increasing in that rapid manner. And then if you see the natural increasing of the population, the birth and the death rates in the world population here, where there is a natural increasing of the population. That is the birth rate. The blue line is the birth rate, and the dark line is the death rate. The birth rate is growing on increasing, whereas compared with the death rate. Now the death rate is decreasing because of increased healthcare delivery system. That it may be are more that is the other problems in literacy, etc. So that is increases the decreases the death rate, but the birth rate is high, increasing gradually. And if you see the in the developed countries, there are, if you see that in developed countries, how the pyramid is. In developed countries, the young population are more and more in the young population compared with the developing countries. If you see the pyramid in the developed countries, where is the central line is bulging, and and the last and the line is a tapering. That means the 40, 44, 30, 34 age group of people are more compared with 0 to 4 years and old age group of people. This is the importance of the pyramid of the developed countries. Okay, so the 30, 34 years of age group or more compared with the dependency. That means up to 14 years we can call it as a dependency population, and above 65 years, 64 years, we can call it as a dependency population. That is younger dependency population, older dependency population. Compare with the live the in the reproductive compare with the elderly group, the adolescent group, the old age and young age group of population are very, they are all dependent upon the earning members of the group. That is between it is the 20 24 and 50 54 up to 50 54 of age group of people are more in developed countries. If you see the same pyramid in the developing countries, where in the developing countries, here the 0 to 4, 10 to 4, that is the dependency ratio is very high. The broad base and the peak tapering of the peak top edge. That is the old age and the dependency, old age dependency and young age, child dependency, young age below 14 years of age group, 15 years of age group are more compared with the middle productive life of group, the earning members of the group. That is the potential growth potential because of this, because if you observe the below 15 years of age group or more in developing countries means they are the future productive life. That's why there will be growth is potential growth potential is very high in developing countries where the and then the tapering of the old age group. Here, as you know, the COVID cases, if you observe, in the more number of COVID cases are just seen in developed countries because the old age group of population are very high in the developed countries compared with the developing countries. That's why the most of the COVID cases are died in the old age group. So that is the here if you see the dependency ratio are very high in developing countries and they are the future growth potential for the growth of the population. So the birth rate, births per thousand population, if you observe, the birth rate is stabilizes following the unpopulation birth control program during the emergency of 1970. In 1970, there is an emergency. There they have that is the compulsory family planning methods were observed by the Sanjay Gandhi, the late Sanjay Gandhi, the late Indira Gandhi's Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's son, late Sanjay Gandhi. He observed in 1970 the compulsory sterilization. At that time, the birth rate was declined. So the birth rate and becomes stable following the unpopular birth control program during the emergency of 1970 and resumption of the gradual birth rate again declining again. So that is regarding the births for in Indian fertility rate. And then if you see the fertility varies widely across the country. That is the children's per woman. In Kerala it was 1.8. In Tamil Nadu it was 2, whereas in Andhra Pradesh it was 2.2. And if you see the most of the, that is in the Madhya Pradesh, it is 3.8, and Bihar, it is the 4.3, and Uttar Pradesh, it is 4.4. That is the fertility rate. Fertility rate, if you observe, and if you see, observe the fertility rate in the states and most of the developed countries, it is only 1.19 in South Korea, Italy 1.26, Japan it is 1.28, Spain it is 1.3, whereas in UK it is 1.72, and at the most United States it is 2.3. And see, you can observe the fertility rate in the developing countries and the developed countries. It is only between 1.19 and 1.3, etc. Whereas, whereas in developing countries, the fertility rate is, so it is up to 4.4. That is the fertility rate. So developed countries, it is only 2.3 is the last, the highest the fertility rate. If you see the worldwide fertility rate, in 1950 and 55 it was zero point 0.6 billion. The women of childbearing age and the fertility rate. Okay, it was only zero point 0.6 in 1950 and 55. That is, the women between 15 to 49 years of age group. And in 2030, then 2010 and 15, it is 1.8, and by the projected population by 2050 it is 2. That is the women of childbearing age and the fertility rate. So here, if you see the population in countries of there is a low fertility rate, we can observe the declining the growth rate between 2005 to 2050. In Thailand, it is 1.7, and in China it is 1.6, and America it is 1.3, and whereas Italy minus, it is under the minus stage. The Trinidad, Italy, and Russia, they are all in minus stage. The growth population. So, average number of children per woman. If you observe, in 1970 to 1975, no, 75, and 2000 to 2015. That is, in the 1970, in Egypt, the average number of children per woman is 5.7, whereas the average number of children in 2000 to 2005, it was 3.3. Whereas in India, the average number of children per woman is 5.4 in 1970 to 75, and in 2000 to 2005 it was decreased to 3.1. Whereas in Indonesia it is 5.2, and in 2005 it was 2.4. Whereas in Iran it is a 6.4, still high, and by 2005 it was 2.1. Whereas in Pakistan it is 6.4. The average number of children per woman is 6.4 in Pakistan, and now in 2005 it is 4.3. Whereas in Turkey it is 5.3 and for 2.5, and Yemen it is 8.5, and 2005 it is 6.2. Here, if you observe the average number of children per woman here in South Korea and here, and then the Uganda and etc., the different countries where the number of children per woman, they are in the negative side, that minus side, compared with the developing countries. Here, the most is the Titasia, where it is 7.3, and reaching the replacement of the fertility rate, and it is 2 in 2005. Whereas in Iran it is a 7, and by 2005 it is only 2.1. So that is, now the population rate, the fertility rate is decreasing in in the developed, almost the some of the countries, the fertility rate is decreasing. Here, and then the trend of the life expectancy. If you see the life expectancy in 2000 to 2005, it is in Africa, it is 49 years, whereas in 2045 to 2050, it is 65 years, whereas in Asian countries, 67 years, and by 2050, it is 77 years, whereas in Latin America and the Caribbean, it is 72, and by 2050, it is 80 years, and In more developed regions, it is 76 years it was. Now it is 82 years. In the world, it is 60, and as a whole, that is 65 to, and then now it is 75 years. And if you see the rural and urban population, this, as you know, the rural and urban population. In the meanwhile, I will tell you regarding the sex ratio. What is meant by a sex ratio? Sex ratio means number of females per thousand male. That is the sex ratio. Number of females per thousand male, if you compare. And one stage, the female population is less compared with the male population. And later, it has become the male population is dominant and the female population is less. So that is the female population is less means not taking much care regarding the female child, or the the female child death rate is more compared to the male child. That is regarding the sex ratio. And if you calculate the dependency ratio, the total dependency ratio, how to calculate the total dependency ratio? That is the children between 0 to 14 years age group plus 65 years of age group by the population of 15 to 64 years into 100, you will get the total dependency ratio. That is the importance of the dependency. I told already regarding the dependency ratio, as I have shown already the pyramids of the dependency ratio in developing countries and developed countries. Here, if you see the urban population in the world, in 1950 it was 29, and by 2000 it is 47, and by 2030 it is 61%, whereas in African countries it is 15 by 1950 and 37 by 2000 and 64 by the 2030. Whereas in Asian countries, here, still it is the urban population is growing. That is previously it was 17 years, and by 2000 it was 37%, and now it is 65%. Whereas in Latin America and Caribbean areas, where it is 42 by 1950 and 2000 it is 76%, and by 2030 it is 85%. And then more developed countries, regions, it is 82. Amma, వినిపిస్తుందా వాళ్ళు? హలో, హలో, హలో.
Yes,
Am
ma'am.
I am I audible? Because there is no power here.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay, if you see the urban population in more developed regions, it is 82%, whereas previously it was only 74%. Of course, it is just to know how it is in the world population. That is in the largest cities in London, the way you can see the percentage of the population in 1950 it was in New York it was a 12, and the Tokyo it is 11, and London it is 8, whereas in 2000 it is in 17 and then 18 and 34, and in Delhi and Mumbai you can see it is 35, 36 in Tokyo, and Mumbai it is 23 and Delhi it is 21. That is by the 2015 the population of the urban areas. Some of the salient features of the population growth. So here, what is the growth rate? Growth rate means by subtracting the death rate from the birth rate, you can get the growth rate. By subtracting death rate from the birth rate, you will get the growth rate. So approximately 95% of growth rate you can see in the developing countries. 95% of growth rate is only seen in the developing countries. Of this, one third of world population is under the age of 15 years. That's why the more number of less than 15 years of age, they are the future generation. They are going to produce the more growth of the population. That is the importance of the age of the population. Here, one third of population is under the age of 15 years. 95% of growth rate is seen in the developing countries, of which one third of population is 15 years of age. And UNFPA world population is to reach 10 billion by 2050. So, according to the United Nations Family Planning Association, they said the world population can reach 10 billion by 2050. And total fertility rate develops in developing countries. In developed countries is 1.6, whereas in developing countries it is 2.9. Total fertility rate. Total fertility rate means the number of children that is born to a woman. Total number of children born to a woman is called the total fertility rate. The reproductive age is 15 to 45 years. That is the reproductive age. So the total fertility rate in developed countries is 1.6, whereas the total fertility rate in the developing countries it is 2.9. In least developed countries it is 4.9. And total fertility rate, if you see, that is the 2.6. So that is, if you see the growth of the world population, we can observe per minute 176 growth, and per hour it is 10,564, and per day 2,53,542, and per year 92,54,300. That is, it is just the annual gap for the increase in the growth of the population. That is the importance of the growth of the population. We can say the density of population, that is the urbanization and ruralization. I told already, the density it depends upon the rural population and the urban population. Here, the rural population comparatively less compared with the urban population. And if you see the family size, what is a family size? Family size means total number of children to a woman is called the family size. Total number of children to a woman is the family size. And if you observe that is the what is the literacy rate? Sometimes they would ask in the Viva, what is meant by a literacy rate? Literacy rate means the whether the we can have to observe whether the child, whenever you are taking a history in a case history, we have to mention whether the person is literate or illiterate. It will make a sense to know the literacy rate. Literacy rate means those who can write and read of their own language. That is called the literate, not the person who read is illiterate. The person who can write and read of his own language, we can call it as a illiterate person. But if the person can read but not write, that person don't comes will not come under the literacy literate category. So that is more important to know whether the person is literate or illiterate. And in the next class, I will tell you regarding the fertility. So, what is the fertility rate, the total fertility rate? What are the factors which influences the fertility rate, etc. And if you see the life expectancy, as I told already, that is the number of life of the years from birth to the death. That is the number of life of years. And regarding the that is the regarding the life expectancy. And I will tell you regarding the fertility rate in the next class. This is in brief regarding the demography. So commonly asked in the Viva, the demographic cycle. That is the high stationary, low stationary, Okay, high stationary, early expanding, late expanding, low stationary, and declining. These are the four stages. You can see how the population is growing, etc. That is in brief regarding the demographic cycle. And next class, I will tell you regarding the fertility and the geriatrics. Thank you. Amma, తీసేస్తావా